There we are. I think this is it. Okay, we should have sound now. That one's off. That one's on. Okay, mic check, mic check. Tick, 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 tick. There it is. Good. Okay, so the first question.
First question was, which character would I like to play?
There was a legitimate question. It wasn't just you holding up your book in silence.
That's the worst piece of advertising ever, just silently holding up books.
Which character in your Universal series would you like to play if they got a screen adaptation?
I don't know. I would want proper actors to play the parts, if I'm completely honest. But if pushed, I guess I would. I guess Dracula then. Go on.
Do you think
all the best characters are women? I think I write more interesting female characters. I have this theory that you base the characters in the opposite gender to people you're attracted to and you like, and you base the ones of your own gender on yourself. And I find myself a little tedious. Okay. I think the male characters are quite tedious.
Okay. Your next question: have you read Return of the Wolfman?
I've not. I know it's the Jeff Robin book that picks up after Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, so it actually continues the franchise on. But
that's like a weird point to continue it from.
It is, but if you pick it up from the previous film, then Larry Talbot is cured, which they really should have left it there, poor guy.
Excellent. Next up, any chance of and I'll bring my Bloodhounds along t-shirts. I mean, obviously we already have
very good t-shirts. My microphone is ruining the cut.
We're working on a Science Advisor one as well.
Science Advisor t-shirt is in the offing. Yeah, I think I'd like it. I'll bring my Bloodhounds.
Really
I don't know what will go on it.
It's tough to know what the image is, isn't it?
Yeah, a Bloodhound.
A Bloodhound. Is it just like a farmer with like a pitchfork kind of thing? I kind of feel like those sort of people. Okay, so on Patreon we do 50 weeks of X. So year 1 we did 50 weeks of Hitchcock. Year 2 we did 50 weeks of Kurosawa.
No,
silent film.
Kurosawa, and this year 50 weeks of Roger Corman. So this is just a weekly video that is exclusive to our Patreon supporters
on all levels.
Yes, on all levels. $1 a week will get you this exclusive
$2
series.
a week.
$2 a week now. There you go. Well,
although actually, I think technically the way you mark up your videos, if you did do $1 a week, you'd still get it.
Okay.
Little money saving tip there for you.
You can just give us money.
I think you can give us $1 and still get the perks of that.
Yeah. So anyway, you get this bonus video a week on a theme for a year, and people have been shooting suggestions for next year's. And Ossie Nelson has suggested 50 weeks of 1980s films.
Yeah.
So just 50 films from the 80s, which is an extraordinarily large pool from which to pick 50 films.
Yeah, so, I think you need to narrow in on something.
Yeah.
And 80s horror isn't your preference in the world.
Not in horror terms, no. I'm not saying no.
Also,
but if there are other, yes. Not yet. I'm not making a decision yet. It is only July.
Yeah. Okay. Next up.
We're now so far behind already with these questions. Thank you.
Okie dokies. Your first question. Favorite Jim Henson movie?
I mean, if I'm honest, probably the first Muppet movie.
I still haven't watched that documentary on Disney yet, actually.
No. Although Muppet Christmas Carol is also absolutely lovely.
That's not really Jim Henson, though, is it?
It's a Henson company, but okay. Jim Henson Productions.
I remember, who's his son? Brian Henson. He was on Live and Kicking, which is like a Saturday kids show in the UK, promoting the film. And they're taking callers' questions. And somebody asked him how we got into puppetry. Gosh, I wonder how Brian Henson found his way into puppetry. Are you excited for Longlegs or the second Nosferatu remake? I'm seeing Longlegs tomorrow. So I don't know anything about it, and I'm just remaining spoiler-free. Word has sort of filtered through the air that it's good.
Yeah. But Guillermo del Toro has been talking about it a lot on Twitter.
I don't know anything about it. And for a while, I thought it was the same film as... There was another Spider one recently. It might have been called just Spider.
Okay.
or web or something. And I wondered if it was the same film but with different titles, but apparently not.
Okay.
Nosferatu?
I don't see the point in remaking a film that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems pointless to me. But benefit of the doubt, and Robert Eggers is a very good director.
Okay. Would you consider doing a video on the work of Nigel Neal, or is that too broad a subject? A video on various versions of Quatermass.
Quatermass is definitely on the card.
It is, because I recently purchased these.
Oh, X the Unknown is not a Quatermass film.
I know, because they couldn't get it is in like ways.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't find a copy of the first Quatermass one. So yes, so the research has begun. They have been purchased. So that
there
is
are so many versions of Quatermass.
There's
most of them are
definitely
lengthy
on the
TV
cards.
ones and radio one, of course.
Yeah. So yes, coming next year, maybe. Would you do a video on the different versions of Phantom of the Opera?
Yes, I think we would. Yes, we've talked about it before. It's not the sort of we haven't got a time scale on that, but it's definitely one thinking about, because we are sort of reaching the end of the Hammer and Universal franchises now, and that's one of those places where they do meet. But it's sort of a little tricky, because the Universal Phantom of the Opera is not really horror. The Hammer one is.
When you say Universal one...
Oh, I mean the Claude Rains one.
Right.
That's not really horror. I think the one with Lon Chaney
is also not
really horror.
Very good.
And and the Hammer one isn't that much horror either. And apparently the reason that the Hammer one isn't horror is that it was originally going to have Cary Grant in it, who was looking around the studio and said, "Oh, we should do something together," in this way that Grant apparently had, and then just went and. They were trying to tailor it to his personality, and when
we did 24 hours of Universal films, that was the one I slept through.
I mean, in fairness, I don't think that was just the film's fault. It was, we had been up for quite a long time by that point.
I
want to do that. I want to do another 24-hour film thing.
Okay, what were Boris Karloff's final 2 words before he died?
I don't know.
I don't know why they think we would know. Have you seen the original Dark Shadows movie from the 70s?
No.
These are good. Your Hanging Man post got me thinking of Paul Naschy. Any chance there might be a review of The People Who Own the Dark? If it's on one of the 2 Paul Naschy box sets I've got, almost certainly.
We're working our way through Paul Naschy films. There's a lot.
Yeah. Lots of I Can't Hear Yous.
Sorry about that again. It's been a long time since we've. It's good that we do check.
Thoughts on Beverly Hills Cop 4?
I watched it actually.
Okay.
I watched it yesterday, as a matter of fact. As a bit of heritage nostalgia, then it ticks the boxes. It's never going to have the same energy as the original ones, but it's a bit of fun, and there were bits in it I really did like. It's I can't imagine that if you didn't grow up then, I can't imagine you'd enjoy it so much.
Okay, so there is complaints about the sound quality, so keep talking, and let me have a look at this. Are we peaking? Yeah. That's my fault.
It's Graham's fault, apparently.
Okay.
Do you prefer the early British Hitchcock films or the late American films? Which is your favourite from each era? Gosh. I mean, it's really that's a really difficult question, because I mean, Hitchcock has great films in both eras. I mean, you can't really top the run of Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, The Birds. That's just extraordinary. On the other hand, films like The 39 Steps and The Lady Vanishes is an absolute joy. They're great films. So I'm not sure there's an era that I prefer. Hitchcock's a unique director in so many ways, and the fact that he managed to stay at the top of his game for so long, I think he's pretty much unique in that.
Yes, cool. Sound should be better from me now. I apologize. I think I was peeking all over the place. Good evening from Mr. and Mrs. Science Advisor.
Good evening.
Good
Science
evening.
Advisor and Mrs. Science Advisor are in the house.
Very good. Okay. Barbara Steele and Caroline Monroe. Compare.
Compare? I mean, Steele is the star who is the star as well. She had more opportunities than Caroline Monroe in terms of the role she got cast as. Caroline Monroe very seldom got a lead role.
Yeah.
And when she got one, then it was unfortunately towards the tail end of Hammer's period in the Sun, and it was very poorly released.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened to Captain Kronos is just one of the saddest things about in Hammer's history, because that could have been a whole great franchise if they'd just given it a better release.
Still time.
Yeah, but
still time to bring back Kronos.
Well, as I feel obligated to say every time we talk about this, I'm available to write a Captain Kronos sequel. One day someone will be watching who can make this happen.
Can you just write it or straight away and just don't call him Captain Kronos, call him Captain Kronos?
The reason for doing it is largely because I think it would be successful, and that's yeah. I can't make this myself.
Why does the Never-Ending Story only have 3 films?
Well, that's a very good question.
Is it Lionel Hutz sued them?
Yeah.
The thing is, unless that last film was called The Final Chapter, the book's not closed. If there's not some studio executive right now trying to pump out a new Never-Ending Story film,
I'm sure that
I'd be shocked.
It should really be streaming, and someone going, well, this has the possibilities to run and run. The story continues. They just don't film it anymore. That's why.
What did you think of the latest Exorcist? I didn't see it yet, but I remember
I hear nothing but bad.
The bit that put me off in the trailer was when she said something along the lines of, each religion has its own ways of dealing with exorcism. The Jewish faith, the Buddhists, and the Catholic. We're going to need all of them. It was something that stupid, where I just went, not done.
I would honestly rather listen to Mark Kermode reviewing it than I would actually watch the film.
I did like the TV series they did. It was a bit stretched out, but the characters in it I found were really interesting, if not necessarily the story. But now there's another Exorcist movie coming, because this one was terrible. So now somebody else is having to go at it, and I can't remember who that is, but it's somebody interesting.
Sorry, I can't answer any more questions because he's looking up things on.
Mike Flanagan.
Oh, right, yeah.
Is doing an Exorcist film.
The House of Usher guy.
Yes.
Let's make sure I know who the hell we're talking about.
Carry On Screaming review when? I'm worried that wouldn't live up to my recollection.
No, Carry On Screaming definitely lives up to memories. It's great.
I just moved.
So it's doing that thing of jumping ahead again.
Yes. We might have a copy of the first Quatermass we can loan. Thank you. That is from our friend Steve, who brought back Grave Robbers from Outer Space, the card game.
Yes.
So
check them out.
Check out Grave Robbers from Outer Space. Steve put a link in to the Kickstarter that's just launched for the next expansion pack. But we'll be talking about it in an upcoming review. Delta Force, 1, 2, or 3?
1.
I was hoping for a little bit more of an answer there.
Well, to be honest, 1 is always the right answer, and I'm just pushing my brain to remember what Delta Force is. Is that the Chuck Norris film?
I've got no idea.
Someone will say, and in about half an hour we'll find out.
If you were doing the Phantom of the Opera, would you also then do Phantom of the Paradise, Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, and Phantom of Hollywood?
Not in detail, but yes, I think you probably...
Did John Travolta do a Phantom of the Opera movie?
Did he?
Who was in the musical version?
Gerard.
Oh, was it? Okay. I have a feeling that he was attached at some point.
Yeah, I think you want to try and, I mean, not in detail, but you want to sort of like touch as many bases as you can with that one, I think.
Have you seen the first Omen? I haven't, but I've heard it wasn't shit, which is the highest compliment we can give to a film. Apparently, Boris Karloff's last words were Walter Pigeon, and nobody knows why. Gladiator 2.
I bet he'd seen a film last night and like, oh, it's that actor. Oh. What's his name?
Gladiator 2. Will it live up to the hype? Is there hype for Gladiator 2?
I think it has a really good chance of getting quite an easy ride because there is absolutely no expectation of it being any good. Is there? Is it just me?
It's Ridley Scott doing another Gladiator movie, so
I suppose it is Scott himself doing it. So there might be. I just don't think there's the same expectation. I mean, if they'd done it immediately after, or like 10 years after, then I think there would have been some expectation. I just don't
the fact that it doesn't include a time traveling Russell Crowe is
hugely disappointing.
Is what I think is disappointing.
Yeah. As written by Nick Cave.
Yeah. But there's also a series starting on Amazon soon called We're About to Die, Salute You.
With Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. So that might be interesting. I'd quite like them to do a continuation of the Spartacus series, which picks up following Caesar and the events.
I was going to say, he's dead, right?
Yeah, that's it. So like the Spartacus stuff, but it picks up. They talked about it a while ago. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I enjoyed that series a lot.
Okay.
Will we take a look at the post-apocalyptic German movie Deadlock?
I'm not familiar with.
I'm not familiar with. You sounded like you knew.
You know, never say never. I don't even know if that's for a bad movie review or a good movie review.
Yeah, this has put me off Nosferatu. It was made by the people who made Halloween Kills and Slender Man. So I'm like, ugh. Lawnmower Man 2 or Hollow Man 2?
I've not seen either. I didn't like Hollow Man 1. That was terrible.
Oh, hello, W. Long time no see.
Hey,
it's not changed his icon in a decade or more.
Well, dedication. Dark Corners. Apart from putting a faded Twitter bird in front of it.
Bela Lugosi for Christopher Lee. I was going to say Lloyd for a second.
Christopher Lloyd. I'd like to see Christopher Lloyd's Dracula.
Who's the better Dracula and why?
I think they're very different Draculas. There's no better. I'm going to hedge around it. I guess if I was gun to my head, I prefer Christopher Lee. I think probably.
Yes, just wish Christopher Lee liked doing it more. Like if you didn't know he was pained doing it.
Yeah. No, he enjoyed the first few.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen Bela Lugosi do it on stage. That I think would have been brilliant because I think possibly Lugosi was a more rewarding actor on stage, and I think that magnetism, actually being there in the room, would be quite something to see.
Thought Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing was really a Captain Kronos reboot of sorts.
In that case, they blew it badly.
Corey Feldman, better actor or musician? I'm going to have to say actor.
Oh, do you remember our review of?
Because I remember his music.
Oh.
Turner Classic Movies has been doing Corman Night every Thursday this month. That's nice.
Robert Towne died.
Yes.
Another Corman graduate.
Quite a few people popping off recently.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland.
I feel like
Sharon Doherty.
Oh, yeah.
Shelley Duvall. Yeah.
You familiar with Donald Sutherland's Oscar acceptance speech? My favourite Oscar acceptance speech of all time.
Was it just thank you?
No, he says he's holding the Oscar. He goes, "I don't deserve this, but I have arthritis, and I don't deserve that either." As far as I can say, he just won all the Academy Awards. What a great man!
Should Helen Hunt have returned for Twisters? I don't know.
You're going to see that.
I'm going to see it. Yeah, I thought I was seeing it on Saturday, but it turns out it's next Saturday,
Oh.
and I'm going to see it in 4DX. As my girlfriend's very excited to get punched repeatedly in the back by a chair, apparently. So it looks like
Not for me.
just from the trailer, it looks like Twisters is pretty much a remake of the first film, because they seem to
It's
be
a long time ago now.
they seem to be doing the same thing where they're trying to send little robots up into the Twisters, but now there's 2 of them.
I said before, I think that I do feel like they're films that miss a trick in that what's really interesting is what the hell makes people do this. What made there are people who chase these storms. It's phenomenally dangerous, and I'd be more interested in the psychology of it. The special effects.
I want to see a cow flying across the screen.
There you go. Different perspectives.
Did you see Leslie Nielsen as the Phantom of the Opera on Night Gallery?
No. Gosh, I want to see that now.
Thoughts on Cemetery Man from '94?
I have no thoughts on Cemetery Man from '94. Do you?
No.
Okay.
Is
that's not just me.
Is there any news about the lost films featuring King Kong made in Japan in World War II? What was that? Kingu Kongu.
No, they remain lost. The vast majority of Japan's early films are lost because of firebombing during the war.
No.
So, where it goes, stuff crops up every now and then, but I don't think they were exported. And that this is where rare films, lost films, do sometimes turn up, where they've gone down the sort of the line of distribution, and that's very much the case with Hollywood films.
Yeah.
Less so with films with more insular industries,
and quite often in insane asylums.
Yeah. Because they kept hold of because to be honest, they could show them the same film every week, and no one was allowed to complain.
Shrek 5, yay or nay?
I just can't believe they're bothering. I really loved the first Shrek film, and I suppose the second one was fine.
Yeah. As I was saying to you earlier, the weird thing is that there is going to be the same time difference between when Shrek 4 was released and Shrek 5 was released as Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
16 years.
Not quite the same anticipation. But maybe if you were a kid growing up watching Shrek, you have that same anticipation.
Maybe, You're like, when are they going to do another Shrek movie?
Does Eddie Murphy have money problems? It's just suddenly occurred to me that he's got his two most high-profile roles are having belated reboots. Is it just sort of like, I mean, he may just want the work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good luck to anyone working. I just wondered if there's.
I'm sure they're like, 2 fun movies to make for him.
Yeah, I guess it's just sort of like whenever sort of like John Cleese does a tour or Eric Idle, then it's because their ex-wife is suing them again.
Do you know the pulpy German Edgar Wallace films of the late 50s?
Sorry, I thought that was a name. Pulpy German. No.
No. Cool.
Sorry.
Have you seen any of the Argentine Plaga zombie movies?
Yes.
Have you?
I reviewed them back when I did reviews of streaming series for somewhere I was freelancing for a while.
And
they're really low budget, but they're super entertaining and super trashy. I really enjoyed them, actually. I forget what a gap there is between, I think it's 2 and 3. And 3 picks up exactly where 2 finishes. And they're playing sort of like, they're still playing teenagers, like 10 years after the fact. But they're just splatter gore everywhere, but they're just funny.
Cool. Red Dragon or Manhunter?
Of those 2, Manhunter.
Have you seen A Field in England? Quite frequently on the train down here, I imagine.
Yeah, I live in the West Country now. No, I keep missing it. It's on Film 4 quite a lot, actually, and I keep I must catch that.
The great horror western Curse of the Undead, a vampire gunslinger, black and white. I recommend. Seen it? ?
No, but
sounds interesting.
Sounds interesting.
I kind of like the idea of a vampire in a western.
Yeah, I like it when
these things,
gothic tropes are sort of brought into unusual situations.
Low budget killer shark movie or low budget Bigfoot movie? Judging by what I've watched recently, I'm going to say Shark.
Yeah.
If I've got to compare it,
Did you prefer Cruel Jaws or Curse of Bigfoot? I think Cruel Jaws was.
Yeah.
Curse of Bigfoot was a hard watch. So was Bigfoot, actually.
What's the most underrated horror film from the silent era?
Most underrated. You know what? I'm going to say purely. I mean, there's no such thing, I suppose. Really, this is just my opinion. But we've got a top 10 Conrad Veidt horror films coming out later this year, and so The Student of Prague is sort of like one I rewatched for that, and it was surprisingly hard to find a decent copy with English subtitles that's all there. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think it's a really entertaining horror film. Great central performances. Deserves to be seen more.
It's kind of interesting how to trying to find some of these Conrad Veidt films. Obviously, a lot of them are lost, but then you've got others that exist, but trying to find the English language version.
Yeah.
When
you often end up with truncated ones.
When they're out of copyright, and there are copies that you can purchase.
Yeah.
But you'd think it would be easier to find. But
the problem is that sometimes the English language versions aren't the full version.
Yeah.
Because they were always cut on release.
Well, so like, what was the FP1?
FP1 isn't answering, won't answer.
Yeah, the English one's about half an hour shorter than the other one.
Yeah.
What's your favorite zombie film not by George A. Romero?
Plague of the Zombies.
Oh.
I would say. Although, or Train to Busan. I've got to go Train to Busan, actually, now I said that. But I love Plague of the Zombies as well. Very different films, but if I had to pick one.
No.
But I don't.
Have you reviewed any trauma films? They really are, but no. Trauma...
No. They don't quite fit our remit. We could do one for streaming, maybe, I suppose. But they tend not to be...
Yeah.
They're a little too knowing in what
they're very knowing in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
I don't think they really appeal to either of our taste.
Yeah. I kind of think like Trauma for me, it was like, oh, this was good when I was 15.
Right.
I think I like grew out of them, like that sort of shock stuff and the cheapness of it and the fact that it's so knowing in what it's doing. So yeah, it's not really appealed to me for quite a long time. Helen Hunt should return for a new Trancers movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Thomason's still around, I think. I mean, he's quite elderly now.
Also, Dr. Ruth died and Richard Simmons has just been added in.
It's always interesting to see just how far behind we are.
Yes. Kevin Costner's Horizon, epic win or epic fail? Do you know what? I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I found it
quite like that part one or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part one of possibly 4 films. It's really long, but it was quite nice seeing it on a big screen and just sort of wallowing in that world. Just enjoying it.
I liked one he did many years ago with Robert Duvall. I can't remember the name of it now. Great Plains, Big Plains, something like that. I can't remember at all. But similarly, it was just a sort of old-fashioned epic western. It was really good.
It's kind of it felt a bit like if you play Red Dead Redemption, where you just go off and you just wander around and you're not doing you're not really doing any of the missions, but occasionally you'll bump into something that's interesting and then you'll just wander around some more.
See, that's how my brother plays computer games.
Yeah.
It holds no appeal for me.
So so I quite liked it. I do hope that a part 2 does get a cinematic release, because I don't think I'd have the patience to watch it on TV. Like it's definitely one to be in the cinema and just be immersed in it.
Yeah.
Blood Harvest. Tiny Tim as a psychotic clown. Seen it?
No.
Okay. Canon Films or A24? It's 2 very different things.
Which Canon? I can't.
They both equally serve their purpose. I just recently watched this Canon Films showreel of like their upcoming films. Right. But it was right near the end of the tenure, so only like about half these films got made. It's got like James Cameron's Spider-Man.
Wow.
Stuff like that.
They shot for the stars, did Canon.
Yeah, they did try to spend some money.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. A24's starting to actually spend a lot more money on films, and how that's going to affect them going forward. Whether that's going to take something away from the creativity that they've had as a studio.
Maybe. I mean, it's all about spending the money intelligently, isn't it?
But
not for its own sake. Don't say we're going to make more expensive films. Say we are now able to make this film, which we previously could not make.
But Civil War was, I think, that's the most expensive film they've done so far, and it really wasn't super expensive.
But it looked, I mean,
compared to Marvel's Civil War.
Well, no, yeah, and it was so much better. But I mean, it looked expensive. It had tremendous scale.
Yeah.
But also
50 million. That's nothing in today's money.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the end. I mean, I just thought it was a great film.
I'd be curious about you guys doing a dive into Ealing Studio horrors.
Oh, that is an interesting idea, because we always think of the Ealing comedies, but of course they did make some great horror. I mean, Dead of Night.
Dead of Night. The Halfway House.
Hal Vacanti. Yeah, that would be interesting to do. I don't know if it's. I don't know how we do that. If it's a special or like a streaming special or something. But yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Angst 1983 review coming? ?
No.
Maybe, I don't know. Could be. Still pestering you guys. Waxwork 1988.
Keep saying that there's I would like to sort of like do all the Waxwork films.
Yeah,
because there's the sort of the original House of Waxes and the 3D ones. There's a bunch of these, right back to the silent era.
W has an interesting question for us.
Can't put down everybody else there.
Any new books or DC merch on the horizon?
Yes. There's we have upcoming T-shirt with the Science Advisor. We hope there will be a quiz book out imminently, definitely before Christmas,
definitely before the end of summer. Like it's weeks away.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
You've walked in on a sticking point.
Yes, it's the
hard work is done.
The book is written.
Yes.
The questions have been checked. It just needs a cover.
Yes.
The bonus review that you get for buying the book has been edited and uploaded.
Yeah, the other way of doing this rather drawn out thing is to say we've got a quiz book coming out soon. If you purchase it, then you will get access to a bonus bad movie review only available to those who buy the book and those who have friends that they give the code to.
So so that's coming up. You do also get a bonus review if you buy any of our t-shirts.
Any of our t-shirts, any of our merchandise, full stop. If you send us a message on Twitter, Mastodon, on Facebook.
Are we throwing that in with your books as well then?
No.
That's semi-merch. I'd throw you a review if you buy a book.
If you don't get it, if you don't get a cut, then it's not Dark Corners merch, and you don't get a cut.
Fair enough. Okay, so yes, that's what we got.
But you should buy the books anyway.
Who would you consider the most versatile director?
Most versatile? I always think Danny Boyle's got a hell of a diverse CV, because he's got. I mean, you think he's got a kids film in there in Millions.
Yeah.
He's done sort of like proper
Shallow
drama,
Grave, Train Spotting,
Sunshine. Some people think Slumdog Millionaire is a rom-com, and I guess it has some elements of it. Whatever the hell you call 127 Hours.
Yeah.
I think I'd go with Danny Boyle off the top of my head. But then there are lots of. I mean, Billy Wilder's extraordinarily.
28 Days Later, is that Danny Boyle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Horror, good horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing another one now.
Yes.
Well,
he very seldom repeats himself, except when he does.
So that was that question.
I saw him interviewed. He was on Top Gear, and he said his dad always, all of his films, just said, it was very good. Not as good as Shallow Grave. Still, it's Shallow Grave's his best film. It's a fantastic film.
Glad you guys saw Curse of Bigfoot, Teenagers vs. How did you know that, Dan?
Well, we brought it up.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
It's like, what? We haven't even filmed that episode yet.
No.
We're filming it tomorrow.
We are filming tomorrow, Curse of Bigfoot, but yeah, we brought it up in the debate versus shark films versus Bigfoot films.
What a horrible film. Anyway.
Great knowledge, by the way, getting its alternative title, or the 1950s title.
Abigail, Watch Your Past. I enjoyed Abigail. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Is there a piece of artwork that you've seen that frightened you, or at least found unsettling? Quite frankly, probably the two pictures in the bedroom you're sleeping in.
Yeah, I'm crashing it in Graham's spare room tonight, and since I was last here, then he's put artwork on the wall that is designed to
two freaky clowns. Basically,
know when Homer builds a clown bed for Bart in one of those flashback episodes of The Simpsons, and it's just this utter monstrosity. That's what's peering over my shoulder as I sleep tonight. That's why I'm drinking.
And if you
drink myself to sleep, because otherwise there's no way.
And then you look to your right and you see another one.
That's the one behind me is sticking its tongue out. It's creepy.
Yes.
Like it wants to lick me.
So yes, that's that one. Open range.
Open range. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
that's what I was trying to think of.
Last live chat, I mentioned I reviewed your books. You asked where. I reviewed them for Weekend Notes.
Oh,
okay. I tried to post a link and it was removed. So I'm looking forward to the next one. Oh, I don't know why the link was removed. It might just be our spam filters out links, which means me telling Steve to post the Kickstarter was,
we don't know why he hasn't.
was pointless.
Sorry, Steve.
I will go dig it out when Robin's answering a question as more than a one-word answer.
What was it called? I've forgotten already.
Weekend Notes.
Weekend Notes.
Okay. You could do like presumably you can write www. the link and just split it up. Might work, and then we can put it all back together. So it looks like words rather than a website.
Okay. I'm just trying to remember Weekend Notes.
The Comrade Veidt movie he made for that sex research foundation that the Nazis tried to destroy.
Yeah, it didn't make our top 10.
A good bit was found and is on YouTube. He plays a gay musician being blackmailed.
Oh, that one. Yes. No, I can't remember what that's called, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one we do mention because it's one of the first films to deal sort of explicitly with a gay relationship.
What's your favorite Mario Bava film? Make it a long answer.
That's going to be tricky. I wouldn't like to say without a list of Mario Bava films in front of me, because I get Mario Bava confused with other Italian directors. And none of them really stick in my mind to any great extent, to be honest. That is all I have to say on the subject, but Graham is still typing.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, let's cut back to the question. So I got one.
Superman 3 and 4 or Jaws 3 and 4?
Oh boy. There's an embarrassment of riches. I think I'd rather watch the Jaws ones because Michael Caine in Jaws 4 is hilarious. Jaws 3, the 3D one, that's pretty awful. Arguably Jaws 4 is worse, but it's just more entertaining to watch. And like I said, yeah, Michael Caine, can't believe the character's not dead at the end. It is the one where he's supposed to have just, all he did was open the script and see sort of like fade up on the Bahamas and so, yeah, I'm doing it. He just took the paycheck and ran, and you can tell. Whereas the Superman ones, I just think are painful. Particularly the canon one, it has to be said. But I don't like Superman 3 at all either. Are we back?
Hotman, thank you very much for the $4.99.
Thank you.
Would you consider doing an episode on John Sayles?
Ooh, I mean, maybe not just about John Sayles. I definitely think that we should review one of his films. Something like is it The Secret of Rowan Inish? That would be a nice one to do if that's streaming somewhere. I'm sure that that feels like a film that would be streaming somewhere, and that's a lovely film and would be very much our remit.
There you go. Just put a link to the Grave Robbers Kickstarter. Okay. How about a Donald Pleasance special?
Gosh. I think we're better covering Donald Pleasance films in isolation. I'm not sure there's anything that sort of like unites Donald Pleasance's films apart from him. It's an eclectic bunch. There are some proper shockers in there. I think I remember us talking about Donald Pleasance, I think on one of these things some years ago, and go, what beyond Halloween, what did he do? And then you the more you explore and you find things like Wake in Fright, which is that's his best performance for my money. That's a wonderful film where you see the real talent of the man. But they're few and far between. He did so much junk in between.
Yeah.
I mean, working actor. And I think Prince of Darkness, I always think, is an underrated one, the John Carpenter one.
Top 10 Klaus Kinski.
I'm not listing 10. Top 10. My number one Klaus Kinski film, I think probably would be Fitzcarraldo.
Okay.
I'm one of these, but I prefer Fitzcarraldo to Agary the Wrath of God. I just like something about that image. The mad artist, for whatever reason, appeals to me.
Okay. I haven't seen any good Japanese or Korean films lately. Any recommendations? I did watch a Korean film recently that was okay. Would it get a full recommendation? I don't know, but what was it?
I caught up with. I mean, the only Japanese film I've watched recently is Matsuko Shinkai's latest one, which was out, I think, last year before, but I missed it in the cinemas, and I can't remember what it's called now. Damn it! But my brother got it for my birthday, which was very kind of him, and I enjoyed it more than he did, which is nice.
Sting was the film I was thinking of earlier that I thought was Longlegs, but with a different title.
Okay.
A Cantonese film, Twilight of the Warriors Walled In. I really enjoyed that. And that's as far back as my movie history is going. So I cannot tell you what the Korean film I saw where they were doing exorcisms and things.
Okay.
So, SARS. Nothing to add there. Well, nice fun now. Looks like you're channeling your inner words.
Okay. That's from Dune, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
I don't know how it's pronounced. Harkonnen is a name.
Oh,
Dune,
yeah.
Isn't it?
Okay.
I may be wrong.
So, what's that picture from on the thumbnail?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about it, but I got asked to play a vampire in a low-budget horror film for someone local to me, and I said yes, and I did check, and he said it was cool to use the image for something like this. But we'll when it comes out, then we'll let you know, and I'll get to review my own film. Well, not my film. I
5 stars.
I did like 3-4 days on it. But and that was an intensive day.
Are you the lead villain in the film, or are you incidental?
I think I am the lead villain, but it's mostly an off-camera villain, so sort of an insidious presence. And in fairness, the guy is doing this all off his own bat, so it's quite low budget. And I think a lot of the time, my presence will be him in a hat, seen from behind.
Right.
So I think I'll be covered by doubles for a lot of it. But for whatever reason, he came and saw me in a play and thought that my face suggested vampire. So there we go.
It wasn't wrong. Pearl or Maxine? Have you seen Pearl?
I haven't seen Pearl or Maxine.
Okay.
I hear that Maxine is very good.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm just trying to organize time to see it with my friends, who hopefully can find time. Otherwise, I'll just have to go by myself again.
I like going to the cinema by myself.
Have you ever read the Paul Naschy autobiography? No, but
No.
I'm assuming we will when we come to do
We'll do
a video on the
Yeah.
tragic life of Paul Naschy.
guy.
Better Karen Black film, Trilogy of Terror or Ooga Booga?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Danny Boyle's Frankenstein 2.
Yes, yeah. I was nearly in a production of that recently. That not the Danny Boyle's one, obviously, but the Nick Dear Frankenstein. But I had to pull out.
What movies for Dark Corners pleasantly surprised you?
Pleasantly surprised me.
Yeah. In bad movie terms, I think Trancers was one that was far more enjoyable than we were expecting. That it worked both for the review, but was also a entertaining movie.
Yeah, there was that Edgar Ulmer one. I can't remember what it was called now, which was going to be for the bad movie review, and we ended up doing it as a streaming movie review. I can't remember what it was called.
The one that was done at the same time as Transparent Man.
Yeah. The only streaming movie review so far to have the science advisor in it. Can't remember what it's called, but yeah, that one.
Yeah, it's not things.
That's not that helpful.
It's not things to come, is it?
No, but it did have a sort of a vibe of that.
Yeah.
It was a time traveling one, and no.
They were doing the London Symphony Orchestra were doing Things to Come with a live score.
Really?
Yeah. Or it's coming up. That's one of the things they're doing. I went to a thing, London Symphony Orchestra doing different film tracks, and there was one that they wanted to do, but the score didn't exist, so they had to kind of figure it all out and like re-put it back together again, which is very cool of them. Catnado or Sharknado? I had no idea there was a Catnado. Which Top Gear before the host change? This is so targeted towards Dark Corners.
I think I mentioned Top Gear earlier when I talked about the interview with Danny Boyle.
Oh, okay.
It was old Top Gear, so it was Jeremy Clarkson would have been interviewing him. I don't watch since.
Oh, but Curse of the Bigfoot includes the girl who played Debbie in Manos in the Hands of Fate.
Oh.
And then
that's quite the CV.
Sometimes it's just words like hundreds of beavers ? If you say so.
Is that the name of a film?
I don't know. Got to go. Okay, no worries.
Okay, good night.
Whipping the Body. That's like a.
We've reviewed that for Dark Corner streaming.
Did we review it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the
I know it.
films. Yeah, that was a good Barber film.
Favorite King Kong film?
King Kong.
It's an easy one.
The only. Sorry, we're just reading through questions.
I'm just reading through. Sometimes they're not questions.
Sometimes they're not questions.
They're statements, and I'm like, oh no, I committed eye time. Which movie had the greatest impact on cinema? Gojira or Night of the Living Dead?
Interesting.
Ooh.
On cinema as a whole, I'd say probably Night of the Living Dead, because I don't think it's just about the zombie genre. I think that sort of pseudo verite style of filmmaking, that sort of low budget filmmaking changed, whereas whatever effect Gojira had was kind of more limited to Japan, and and the genre it started never at all equaled.
And you've also got King Kong being a giant monster prior to that and running amok in a city. I know it's not on the same level, but it's
not. Yeah, it's a different. It's trying to do a different thing.
Yeah, and then didn't really become a big thing in the West, like a giant monster wrecking cities in the same way.
And their popularity outside of Japan is really for different reasons, almost. That they have a kitsch value, but the original and until recently was unequaled.
Did you see Past Lives?
Yeah, remind me. I know
The
I've seen
Korean-
a film called
the
Past
Korean
Lives.
one.
Oh, possibly not then. No, yes, I
Yes,
did.
I thought you would have done, yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Um,
Celine Song.
Yeah.
Directed. Yeah, I did. Very, very, very much liked.
people just writing words. Have you considered a Ken Russell or Michael Winner special? No.
No. Michael Winner, no. Ken Russell, maybe.
Some praise for White Reindeer, which we enjoyed.
Oh, lovely film. That's one of my favourite things that we found since we started doing the streaming. I loved that one.
Beyond the Time Barrier.
That's it. Thank you. You see, this is great. People can fill in the blanks in my memory. I need you people just in my everyday lives. I just need.
Yes, no, I have heard of Hundreds of Beavers. It's a live-action movie, but in the style of a slapstick Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Mark Kermode just did a review of it recently. That's where, but I've not seen it playing anywhere. So yes, we talked about him already in your Lon Chaney and Bela Lugosi videos. But would you do a special on Todd Browning? Yes. Yeah.
I think that's coming. I'd quite like to do that next year.
Yeah.
Whether or not we can find the time, but I'm keen to do that because if only because it might give me impetus to resurrect my play,
which you definitely should do.
Yeah, well, that would help because I'd have to reread his biography.
Favorite prehistoric animals.
Favorite prehistoric animals. Can't beat a mammoth.
Did you see the Transformers, the movie from 1985? It was Orson Welles' last performance.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I might have seen it. I did see a Transformers movie.
Have you seen like the trailer for the new Transformers, like animated?
No,
it does not look good. As many of the Transformers movies don't look at this point.
I've never seen a Transformers movie.
Oh,
I keep waiting. The thing is,
what? Yeah,
I keep waiting for the first one to be on terrestrial TV because I tell you what, some of them are constantly on Film 4, but never the first one, and I have to watch things in order.
Yes, yeah, you don't want to miss out key plot points.
It's more that I just have to watch things in order.
Believe it or not, we've reached the end of all the questions.
No way.
Oh, there's one more. Hundreds of Beavers is available to stream.
Okay.
Did you see the G.I. Joe movie as well? No. So what we got coming up? We have.
Hopefully, we've got a Cabinet of Dr. Caligari special up really shortly.
Really shortly. It's in the edits. It's the best way I can describe it. It's not.
We have been busy recently with stuff that isn't Dark Corners, so, and that's just life.
So then after that, we've got top 10 Comrade
Bite films.
Then we're
a compilation special.
A compilation special.
Like one of, you know what? We should shoot that. I'm just thinking this now. We should shoot it like I'm in a coma, and you're trying to bring me out of it by reminding me of past Dark Corners episodes. Because that's what we're basically doing.
Yeah,
it's just a 1990s sitcom episode.
Yes.
Then after that, all being well, a 2-part special on the Universal Frankenstein.
Yep.
And then
a vast improvement on our
last one.
Our last one, which was one of the first specials we ever did.
Yeah, but we've learned a lot since then. So this will be way detailed.
Yeah.
Way detailed. Way more detail. And then a top 10 Boris Karloff horror films. And that should take us to the end of the year if it does not take us beyond that point. This is all assuming pretty smooth editing, I think.
Ooh,
and pretty smooth writing.
Wait 1 second. Laura has just said you're not missing out on anything in the Transformers movies and spent $50 to tell us.
Wow.
So in this scenario,
I shall keep not watching them then.
I feel that that's a real impassionate plea not to watch the Transformers movies.
I've said this before. I'm a huge believer in self-censorship. If there's something that you genuinely don't think you're going to like, then you have the option of just not watching it.
Yes.
And then you don't have to go on Twitter and tell everybody that they're idiots for liking it. You can just not watch it.
I do admire your resolve not to watch films, even out of curiosity. I
sort of despair at your habit of watching films that you know you're going to are going to be rubbish because you're giving them a reason to keep making them. If you keep watching Marvel films, they'll keep on making them.
But it's like, you didn't even watch Last Jedi, did you?
No,
you stopped after The Force Awakens, and I was like, that's impressive.
It's not really.
It's impressive.
If you didn't like a film, then why would you watch the sequel?
You might.
What's wrong with people?
You might have liked it,
but I didn't like the.
No, I'm not criticizing you. I'm in awe of that kind of discipline. It gives you it gives you so much more time to watch the latest Andy Milligan movie. We got a review from Andy Milligan coming up.
Our second ever, and it already feels like too many.
Yes. Have you seen the 1977 shorts, The Contraption with Richard O'Brien?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Have you seen Drive My Car?
Oh.
No.
I think so.
There's been quite a few comments about sales deserving an episode of some sort. Megan or AI? M. Freegan or AI?
Well, the problem I have here is that I like AI.
I know, exactly.
And I haven't seen Megan, but my niece who is not old enough to have watched Megan, but her name is Megan, and is really proud of the fact that there are currently 4 horror films named after her. So I sort of have to go with that one.
Here's a little something for putting up with me. Oh, thank you, Andreas.
Thank you.
You could have also warned us about a film not to watch, because this is the best use of money is to tell us not to watch something. Thank you very much. Who was the first horror writer you enjoyed reading?
I don't read a lot of horror, so probably Bram Stoker.
Okay. Favorite full stop motion movie?
Full stop motion
yes,
movie?
Yes, fully stop motion movie.
The Wrong Trousers.
Very good. Let's talk about Hammer horror films for the rest of the time. We're gauging if there. We're going to do a Quatermass special at some point. We're looking at doing a Cornish duo special at some point, and also a Hammer Swashbucklers.
Yes. There's still the Karnstein trilogy.
And the Karnstein trilogy.
Our only problem with the Karnstein trilogy is that it's hard to get past YouTube. And if we do get it past, if we do get it past YouTube, then it will be so censored that there's almost not a limited point to doing it, but maybe it'll be a little bit clunky because of it.
Yeah, but you will get it all fully uncensored on Patreon.
Yes.
So there'll be that. But which of those 4, Quatermass, Cornish duo, Swashbucklers, Karnstein, which of those 4 should we be looking at hardest, I guess?
This is not a binding vote.
This is not a binding thing. It's just we're just gauging
interest,
gauging the feeling of the room. You should watch Rogue One. You can miss Rogue One.
I'm done.
But Andor was good, the series. But maybe watch Andor and then Rogue One.
Well, I don't get Disney, so I'm not going to watch any of them.
Have you seen Fritz Lang's Destiny 1921?
Yes. Very fine film. Yeah, that's another one that maybe I don't think it's as underrated as Student of Prague, but certainly comes into the same category. I don't think we talk about it enough, maybe. And it's the one that inspired Waxworks, which I talk about quite, which is another one which features in the Conrad Veidt top 10 that we have coming up, and is one that I talk about a lot. I really love Waxworks.
Practical effects or CGI?
Obviously, they both have their place. I think practical effects we always enjoy. There just seems to be more cleverness and craft that goes into it,
which isn't the case, but there's a place for both. I think that's the best. I think nowadays some practical effects are just not, even the best are not going to hold up to what CGI can do. But there's also definitely a place where having practical effects, even if they don't end up getting used, but they give a really good grounding for the digital effects because you've got something to compare it to. So both. They go together. There's a beautiful marriage of the two.
CGI is absolutely wonderful for meaning that we don't have to mistreat animals on set anymore.
No more tripping horses.
Well, not even that. But every time you see like a big cat in a movie these days, it will be animated. And okay, you can always tell, but this is better.
It's one of those things where you can always tell, except I don't know that you can, because when you can't tell,
you can't tell.
And it will be like a mix. Favorite character or favorite Planet of the Apes character?
Favorite. I always land on the orangutan because I like orangutans.
I like the orangutan as well. I couldn't remember the name of the orangutan, but yes, I thought like for such an expressionate face.
I just like orangutans, to be honest. He looks like it makes me think. Yeah, it's a shame that nobody's up for doing a accurate adaptation of a Discworld novel, because that's what the librarian would look like.
Right, just jumped ahead.
Oh, as soon as you said we've run out of questions, then they all piled in, didn't they?
Which horror actor / actress would you most like to have met?
Peter Cushing.
It would be Peter Cushing. I think the idea.
I think he's the one who wouldn't disappoint.
Yes, and I think the idea you could have just bumped into him in Whitstable one day.
he'd have been polite.
Yeah,
we've had tea.
Yep. I'm watching some of the special features from The Hobbit. Christopher Lee at the end, like they're filming, and Christopher Lee's just like telling this story, and they're like, "All right, okay, well, here's Christopher Lee, so we can't, hurry him along." But you really get a sense that they just want to shoot the scene, and Christopher Lee's just off telling like some story. A Duckula series retrospective.
I actually love Count Duckula.
Any thoughts on Alien Romulus?
I think I'm done with the Alien franchise.
Okay.
There's two. In the end, if you haven't, there's two really good films, really different films, and nothing since then, however many decades that's been, has really come close. You think, just put it to bed, let it go.
Most underrated Terence Fisher Hammer film.
Most underrated. That's tricky, because maybe Dracula Prince of Darkness.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's rated, but I still think it deserves to be more highly rated.
Okay. 2 votes for Quatermass so far. Another vote for Quatermass. Quatermass seems to be leading.
Okay. Well, we were thinking.
Good, because otherwise I've purchased those discs
for nothing. For nothing.
I Other than Luton's bus, what are your favourite jump scares?
Other ones in Val Luton films.
something with a cat jumping out at somebody. Yeah.
Whenever you put on the spot like this, you never actually pull the things to mind.
Something from Alien, because we just mentioned Alien.
Yeah, well, that's what it'll end up being. It's just whatever we were previously thinking about. Actually, we reviewed that version of The Woman in White, the TV one.
Oh yeah,
it's not The Woman in White, is it?
Woman in Black.
The jump scare in that, because of everything that had led to that point, that came out of nowhere. That was terrifying.
Any chance about special on Peeping Tom? We looked at doing this at one point,
yeah,
and then it sort of moved away.
I don't know if it moved away because we came up with other things, or because Michael Powell's autobiography, or at least the one I bought, frustratedly stopped before Peeping Tom, which really pissed me off.
That may have been the reason. They've done a 4K release of the film, and so probably that's going to cover it pretty well. So if you're desperate to know about Peeping Tom and its effects on the director, that's probably a good place to start.
And there has just been a really good cinematic documentary about Michael Powell, presented by Martin Scorsese. I can't remember what it's called now. Made in England.
Cool. Monkey Boy just got his Dark Corners giant claw shirts. So email us or
message on
Twitter us or Facebook us, get your bonus review. Captain Kronos of Van Helsing.
Captain Kronos.
Oh, do that to Peter Cushing.
Oh, right. I thought is that not a reference to the Van Helsing film?
It just says Van Helsing.
Oh, right.
Do Peter Cushing dirty?
He's
never going to meet you now.
Depends on which version of Van Helsing. I assumed you were talking about the because we were talking about it earlier as a possible sequel. Then yeah.
Who would you most like to direct one of your books?
Who would I most like to direct one of my books? I don't know.
Oh, Exorcist 3 does have a very good jump scare. That is true.
Yes. That's got a brilliant jump scare in it.
Just popped in. Got to say, the thumbnail put me off. The actor is too handsome to be frightening. Will we do a Claude Rains retrospective?
I think probably not.
Yeah.
I think we covered the films of his that would be sort of within our remit as covering the individual films rather than...
Yeah.
He's not really a horror actor. He just did a couple of horror films.
Top 5 favourite films that did well at the box office from 1980 to present.
I'm just to ignore that and just make my last point about Claude Rains, that one of the things I've learned researching Bride of Frankenstein is he was the first choice for Pretorius, which would have been completely different.
Do not like that.
It would have been a very different. I think it's hard to envisage him in the part because, of course, he wouldn't have played it with that sort of high camp.
Interesting that Pretorius is credited as a character in Del Toro's Frankenstein.
Oh, really? Yes.
So quite how they're going to blend that in. Be interesting. Is Pretorius a full-on invention for the movie?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for that.
He has in earlier drafts, and I think we have an earlier draft to look at, then he has more to do.
X the Unknown will be part. I did pick it up knowing full well that it wasn't, but it had some sort of, they wanted it to, it's certainly trading off. I think they didn't have the right to the Quatermass character.
Right.
As
well, they were doing Quatermass 2 anyway.
Yeah.
The theory behind the X the Unknown is it's the first film written by Jimmy Sangster, and they wanted something that would pick up on the success of Quatermass. And Sangster's idea was, okay, so the monster in Quatermass came down from the sky, from space. Let's have one that comes up out of the ground. So it's just a straight reversal.
Del Toro to direct one of your books?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy if anyone wants to direct one of my books. Then I guess I'd be happy enough. I feel like he might make it his own almost too much.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, I want it to be my book. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I saw an interview with, is it Mike Mignola? Mignola, who does Hellboy.
Okay.
And he said that he pointed out that the Hellboy aesthetic in the comics is very different to the films.
Mhm.
And he said, I have a sort of aesthetic of less is more. Guillermo has a aesthetic of more is still not enough.
I do think when you adapt a book, it should be its own thing. Oh, thank you, Hopman.
Thank you.
I'll get to that question in a second. Yeah, that it should be its own thing and not a literal. I prefer it to be a interpretation of the book rather than a straight retelling of the book.
Well, that's
I
because
think
it's not your book that's being adapted.
the medium is different, and you have to lose a lot of stuff in there.
Oh yeah, but you have to remain true to the spirit of it.
Yeah. But have you seen Walking with Dinosaurs or Prehistoric Planets? Shout out to Ben G. Thomas. That maybe was Walking with Dinosaurs, the BBC.
You see, that's what I was thinking. I feel like that must not be what's being talked about.
I feel that it is.
Okay, then yes.
Yes. Have you heard of Toby's audio adaptation of Nigel Neal's lost TV story, The Road? Very creepy ghost story. Nope, but we'll check it out. Best book of yours to start with as a reader?
I mean, probably to start with, I think probably start at the start with The Mummy's Quest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the best one, but it's a fun one on which to start, and most people seem to think that's the way to go.
Yes,
good reviews.
Walking with Dinosaurs was the BBC documentary.
There we go.
And it's free on YouTube. Well, so yeah,
Still
definitely
got
watched
one
it.
for us to review, but
yeah, definitely watched it when it came out. So it was quite a big deal back at the time.
It was.
Any favorite TV episodes that had horror elements that were unexpected, i.e., Sherlock Holmes with Basil Rathbone, the Creeper?
I can't think of anything that was particularly unexpected, I suppose. I always sort of like standalone TV episodes. I do go to the Doctor Who one from the David Tennant era, the first one with the Weeping Angels, which is an extraordinary piece of standalone television. The Doctor's really not in it that much. Written by Stephen Moffat, and that's a fantastic, just short horror film.
Yes.
Can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I'm sure. Yeah.
The second Jurassic Park book is miles better than the movie. Probably. Where are we at? We're at 11:15. Questions are drying out. We're going to do like 5 minutes more, I think. We've got a big shooting day tomorrow.
Yeah.
I love the Impossible Planet episode of Doctor Who. How are you getting on with watching all the Doctor Who episodes on BBC iPlayer?
I sort of took a break while Wimbledon was on, to be honest. But yeah, I'm up to the Dominators, which is, I think I'm pushing. I'm mid, probably past the midpoint of Patrick Troughton's era. Gratified to find there's more episodes surviving in season 5 than there were in season 4. That was, I said before, that's a wasteland.
Yeah.
But still, there's some really fantastic stories in amongst them. And there's I can't remember what it was called, but the previous storyline was a Cyberman one. And one of the things that I do love about the old era Doctor Who's is that you have the time to develop a story. So I think that was a 5-episode stretch, and the Cybermen don't appear till episode 3.
Right.
So you have the option of building up tension, and there's something going on, and you don't know what, and then they come out of nowhere, and that's a fantastic surprise.
How long?
There's just no chance of doing that in a 40-minute episode.
Right, so about 40 minutes now.
45 minutes.
Those ones, sorry.
Oh, no, those episodes. The original ones are half hour long.
Right,
but they are a proper half hour, not an ITV half hour.
Yeah.
Also entertaining about watching them is the fact that you see a whole bunch of actors who you had no idea did Doctor Who. All these great. There's a lot of crossover with Hammer.
Oh, of course there would be. Yeah.
There's an episode called I can't remember if I said this last time, but there's an episode called The Tomb of the Cybermen, which is it does feel like a mummy type thing.
Yeah.
And George Pastel is in it.
Because we were just we were talking about like the sort of the Hammer crossovers because we were just doing we got a review of this Roger Moore film, The Man Who Haunted Himself.
Yeah.
Listening to the commentary track, and it's one of these cases where the journalist has done so much research, like, and knows Roger Moore's career better than Roger Moore does. And he says, "You were going to be in a Hammer film. What was it? It was The Bride of Newgate Jail. You were going to be in this Hammer film." And Roger Moore's like, "I don't recall." Oh, they made publicity material for it, and he's like, "Oh, don't remember."
Freddie Jones is in that, who of course is the monster in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Yes.
Or the monster is
he's
the one who is operated upon.
He also,
very moving performance.
He also has a interview on the disc as well.
Toby Jones' father. Toby Jones came to the Cinema Museum and talked about him actually. But yeah, I think he's wonderful in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. I think he is the worst thing in the Man Who Haunted Himself.
Yes,
he's just out of place. It's not like he's bad, but he's out of place.
Same with Fawley Walters though as well in that. Like, is this Fawley Walters doing Fawley Walters? Like, Jesus, you had one note, didn't you?
No, we've seen him in other stuff where he's good because he was in the Earth Died Screaming.
Yes,
he's very good in that.
But I did get the impression he just was never sober.
Yeah, he does give that impression. I don't know how much of it's very good acting.
The channel should be more popular. I think so.
We always think so, but it's not. What do you do?
Who do you think? Thank you for sharing your thoughts on what Doctor Who should be. For that was like, who do you think the next Doctor Who should be?
Not done yet. Although that last series.
How much more have BBC spent on reconstructing the episodes than it would have spent on storage for all of those things?
That's true.
Yeah.
And some of the animations are great. Some of them are not. The ones which haven't been animated yet, and they just have still pictures and the dialogue over the top. That's virtually unwatchable.
Right. Even as like if you just listen to it as a radio.
But then there's just sounds and you don't know what's going on. So they have captions on screen telling you what's happening.
Oh, okay.
Alongside the pictures. But yeah, it's no way to watch them. But it's what there is.
Zombie apocalypse is fading. What's the new horror trends do you see?
Do I see? Oh, you see, I don't keep up with modern horror very much, it has to be said. So I don't really see any
I think you got to
trends. You're more in touch with modern horror.
Yeah, what's working at the moment?
I mean, what do you call the sort of the Maxine Pearl?
But that seems to be like the only film that's doing that sort of thing. That this sort of thematic trilogy, as opposed to it being it's the same killer. They're each doing very different stories. And
which is what we
have
really talked about. Franchises ought to do.
It is X and Maxine is the same character, but it's definitely not the same story. So I like that. I'm sure we're going to get a constant influx of M. Freegan, this sort of PG-13 horror. Five Nights at Freddy did really well. So
the sad truth is that actually the current trend is to just keep rebooting until something is worn into the ground.
I'm sure that the
Halloween Ends is not ending.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think there's already another Halloween one in the works. But I wonder if there'd be more along the lines of Abigail, which was super bloody and gory, but not in a visceral way, like in a Evil Dead kind of way,
Right.
where it's like
Splatter gore.
just loads and loads of splatter gore and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if the reaction to Abigail that spurred a few more films like that. I think it tends to be pretty broad,
Okay.
generally speaking, but I think the ones that will be successful will be these ones for 13-year-old girls that don't have any blood in it and are only marginally scary.
Oh, well, there you go. I might go and see those.
Yeah, TikTok horror, like somebody said, yeah, they've got to have some sort of thing in it that can be a TikTok trend or something like that. Did you know 88 films are releasing most of all of the Tigons? I did not know that, but that's good to know.
Yeah. It's not a huge number.
Was Boy Kills World a horror movie? I don't know it. Any M.R. James adaptation recommendations?
I mean, we reviewed Whistle and I'll Come to You, which is a fantastic one. And I mean, to be honest, I think one of the best M.R. James adaptations is, I don't know if you can even use the word adaptation, was one that the BBC did years and years and years ago, which was just Christopher Lee reading them to a group of school children, as M.R. James did. That's what they were written for, and his delivery is fantastic, and it really captures how those stories work with that sort of oral storytelling tradition. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on Song of Ice and Fire?
Song of Ice and Fire.
I don't know what it is. No,
I thought that was a George R.R. Martin.
It could be, for all I know. Favorite early 2000s, everything is tinted blue or green. It's not early
specific.
It's not early 2000s, but I'd go Green Room. I did enjoy that, and that had a green tint to it. The Dunwich Horror or Color Out of Space, the 60s Karloff version. It might just be, it was Game of Thrones. No, I haven't read any of that. And on that note, I think we need to call it a night because we've got to shoot tomorrow. But thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll do another one of these when we reconvene in Augusty time. Yes, that's the plan, isn't it? Sometime in August.
Late August, maybe.
Late August, early September, by which time we will be then recording the first part of the Frankenstein one.
Oh, I'll have to write it then.
Yep. Yes, you will.
And by that time, don't forget, there will be a quiz book out shortly.
Yes,
so
quiz book will be out shortly, but you'll know about it because it will be advertised in the videos and all of that jazz.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, everyone, and good night.
Good night.